It's so frustrating to play this team because they foul a ton. You know, they really do. They foul all the time. And then, you know, you can't really touch Shai.
What does it mean when the best player in the NBA is also the most annoying one to watch? We're gonna break down why SGA is currently the most annoying basketball player to watch. You'll see the specific moves he uses to trick referees into calling fouls that shouldn't even be fouls, how talented he actually is when he's playing straight-up basketball, how the league has dealt with this exact problem before, and why the NBA keeps looking the other way despite already having rules to stop it. When you see who's actually benefiting from all this, you start realizing that SGA isn't the problem here. The league is.
This is the SGA effect. How many coaches this season have we saw complaining and whining after SGA leave the arena? So many of them. We recently just saw Coach Finch crying and complaining.
How does a player average 33 points a night and still make millions of fans change the channel every time he touches the ball? The frustration isn't hard to find. Go on any basketball forum right now and you'll see the same conversation happening over and over. Highlight clips of SGA getting to the free throw line with nobody within 3 feet of him. Slow motion replays of his head snapping back on contact that looks like it came from a light breeze. Fans calling him unwatchable and former players calling his game a cheat code. Even coaches who faced him have struggled to say his foul total with a straight face.
SGA drive, whistle, didn't really appear to him being touched. You could hear Jaylen Brown scream, "That's not basketball."
Former Denver Nuggets coach Michael Malone went on SportsCenter after Game 2 of last year's Western Conference Finals and called SGA a foul artist. His exact words were, "A lot of times offensive players like Shai will initiate the contact or hook his arm, looking to draw that contact. He is a foul artist."
Will initiate the contact or hook his arm, looking to draw that contact. He is a foul artist, as I mentioned earlier today.
Now, this was a coach saying this on national television about the league's MVP. That should tell you everything about where the conversation is right now. This season, SGA averaged 9 free throw attempts per game during the regular season. In the playoffs, that number jumped to 12.3. Like roughly 1/3 of his points this season came from the free throw line. For context, the average NBA starter attempts about 3 free throws per game. SGA was attempting over 4 times that amount every single night. How SGA keeps tricking the refs into false fouls on the court is actually a set of calculated moves that he runs on purpose every single game. And most people watching have no idea. Here's how it works. SGA gets the ball at the perimeter, about 20 feet from the basket. He takes 2 dribbles toward the basket, slows down just enough to let a defender get into position, and then drives directly into that defender's body. The contact was never accidental. He created it on purpose, and the referee always calls the foul. Meanwhile, the defender did nothing wrong. He was basically just standing there. That specific move, jumping sideways or backward into a stationary defender to manufacture contact, is actually against the rules. The NBA put a rule in place specifically to stop this. Referees are supposed to call it an offensive foul, but almost never do. And that's just one version of it. There's also the head snap, where SGA gets the slightest touch on his arm going up for a shot and his head just whips back like he got hit with a 2x4. What about the off-arm push, where he uses his non-dribbling arm to create space on drives by pushing off the defender before the referee's eyes can track it? Then there's the leg kick, where he extends his shooting leg out at an unnatural angle on 3-point attempts, specifically making contact with a closing defender. Keep in mind that none of these are basketball moves, but all of them result in free throws.
We commend players for playing the game the right way, but we give the benefit to those who necessarily are trying to manipulate the game into their advantage. I just don't think it's basketball. Like, let's just play basketball. All the foul baiting, I think it's whatever for me.
Not basketball, foul baiting, manipulation, this SGA free throw merchant.
Before we get into everything wrong with how SGA scores, we have to be honest about something first. Strip away every foul call he ever drew, and this man is still one of the 5 best basketball players on the planet. Here's why. SGA is 6'6" with a 7-foot wingspan. He's moving like a guard half his size and has the body control of someone who's been playing the game since he could walk. His mid-range is one of the cleanest in the league. He can pull up off 1 foot, off 2 feet, going left, going right, fading away from contact, or leaning into it. Defenders who try to crowd him get blown by, and those who give him space get shot over. There's basically no good answer for him in the mid-range. Meanwhile, his handles are just as dangerous. He operates at 3 different speeds on the same drive, and most defenders can't figure out which one is coming until it's too late. He's averaging 6.6 assists per game from this season, which means he's reading defenses and finding open teammates at an elite level, on top of everything else he does as a scorer. He also shot over 51% from the field and 87% from the free throw line for over 3 straight seasons. Those aren't numbers that come from a player who relies on whistles to survive. Those are numbers that come from someone who genuinely knows how to put a basketball in a hoop. Draymond Green, who's guarded some of the best players in NBA history, said it plainly. SGA can go out there and drop 40 points on 5 or 6 free throw attempts if he wants to. The foul drawing is a bonus on top of an already elite offensive game, not the foundation of it. And that's actually what makes the foul baiting so frustrating to watch, because the talent is real, the skill is real. He doesn't need to do any of this to be great, but he does it anyway. And the reason why comes down to one thing. It works. The frustration around SGA and free throws feels new, but it isn't. The NBA has been through this exact same argument before, with a player who took it even further and a league that actually did something about it. That player was James Harden, and he led the NBA in free throw attempts for 6 straight years, from 2013 to 19. Now, during his peak seasons in Houston, he was averaging over 10 free throw attempts per game. He made more free throws in his career than he made field goals. Read that again. More free throws than actual baskets. The man was scoring so many points from the line that analysts were legitimately debating whether he was the greatest scorer in NBA history purely on a points per possession basis. Fans hated it. Coaches complained. Defenders were helpless. The game would grind to a stop every 2 minutes because Harden had figured out how to manufacture contact out of thin air. He would hook defenders' arms, launch himself sideways into their bodies, or kick his leg out on 3-point attempts to catch a closing hand. It was calculated, it was effective, and it made watching Houston Rockets games genuinely miserable for a significant portion of the league's audience. Eventually, the NBA had enough. Before the 21-22 season, the competition committee voted to change the rules. Offensive players could no longer use unnatural movements, jumping sideways into defenders, or even extending limbs at abnormal angles to manufacture foul calls. The effect was seen almost immediately. Harden went from averaging over 10 free throw attempts per game in Houston to 4.8 in his first season with the Brooklyn Nets under the new rules. Harden sarcastically cheered the first time he finally got a foul call that season, like it was something worth celebrating. So the rule worked. The game got faster. There were now fewer stoppages and more actual basketball. The competition committee called it a clear win for the league's product, and everyone moved on. Then SGA happened. The same moves, the same head snaps, the same off-arm hooks, and the same jumping into stationary defenders. The rules are still on the books. Referees are just not enforcing them. If the NBA fixed this problem once already, why are they letting it happen again? The NBA has actually tried to address flopping and foul baiting multiple times. Back in 2012, the league introduced an anti-flopping policy where players would get a warning on the first offense, then fines started at $5,000 going up to $30,000 for repeat offenders. In fact, 6 violations could result in a suspension. But those fines were never serious enough to change anything if we're being honest. $5,000 to a player making $30 million a year isn't punishment. It's more like a rounding error on their monthly paycheck. The fines were handed out occasionally, the headlines came and went, but nothing really changed on the court. Then came the 2021 rule changes that actually worked against Harden. Referees were instructed to stop rewarding offensive players for manufacturing contact, and the league's own data showed the changes were working. Fewer free throws, faster games, better flow. But here's what happened next. The rules stayed in the books, and the enforcement quietly disappeared. Referees stopped calling it, and the league stopped making noise about it. The reason why comes down to one uncomfortable reality. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is currently the NBA's 2-time consecutive MVP. He's the face of the Oklahoma City Thunder, who won a championship last season and were recently in a heated Western Conference Finals with the San Antonio Spurs. So he is the player the league is currently building its marketing around. His jersey sells, his highlights go viral, and his games drive ratings. Keep in mind that the NBA is a business before it's a sport, and the business model right now depends on star players being stars. Suspending or heavily penalizing your own MVP for drawing fouls isn't a conversation any league office wants to have with its sponsors, its broadcast partners, or its players' union. So instead, the rulebook sits there, collecting dust. Referees look the other way, and the cycle continues.